This is Fantasy Football Today from CBSSports.com.
We welcome our CBSSports.com NFL insider Pat Kirwan to Fantasy Football Today. Pat, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me, fellas. I'm starting to really get addicted to fantasy football.
Yeah,
all right.
It's very addicting. We want to talk about a lot of things, but start out with the Giants and the Eagles on Sunday night. We saw what Andre Brown did against the Panthers last Thursday. What do you think the Giants' backfield looks like now going forward?
I think Andre Brown taught them a little lesson on how the running game could look if you have a guy who's aggressive. So I would say he's going to get a workload here, 15 to 20 carries, and I think they love their run game with him on the football field. You also know that Bradshaw, you just can't keep him healthy, so I would preserve Bradshaw for the third down duties.
Pat, it's Dave. The Green Bay offense has been a big disappointment so far this season. They had an okay week one, but now they've got New Orleans coming to town. Feels like a must-win game for the Packers. How do you think Aaron Rodgers and company are going to do?
You know, I just had a long conversation with a coach in this league about those guys, and I think they're facing the same issue even teams like Detroit are facing, in that everyone sees the vertical pass tech, and a lot of teams are playing offense soft, Dave, so I think they have to run the ball. And I think it's the Ced Benson week of all time. If they don't get him 100 yards, they don't ever have a commitment to the run. So it's a big Ced Benson week and a short passing attack, not the vertical stuff down the field, because everyone's laying off the routes.
Hey, Pat, Jamie Eisenberg. Look at the Jets with their backfield right now. Sean Green obviously not getting the job done. Bilal Powell looks like he could potentially take over that role. What do you see happening between Green and Powell going forward?
I think, look, they're addicted to Sean Green, and they've made decisions about him all along here as they release running backs and don't replace LaDainian Tomlinson. I think they're going to keep pounding their head against the wall, thinking that the guy can do it. And I know the Jet fans don't want to hear that, but I don't think we're going to see him yanked from the lineup, and I still think he's going to get the majority of touches.
Hey, Pat, Nathan Zagura here. You know, Phillip Rivers has not gotten off to the kind of start that we had hoped this season, but now he faces the Kansas City Chiefs team. He's allowed multiple passing touchdowns every game, but his track record against them, at least last year, not very good. Do you think this is the week that he gets back on track?
You know, Kansas City's feeling good about themselves, although they shouldn't defensively. They're really surrendering a lot of yards, but I'd say this about Phillip, and yesterday I talked to a couple of the receivers in San Diego. They're pretty excited about the prospects of going in there. He's going to have Gates healthy. Gates plays last week, but he's not 100%, and he's never going to be 100% again at age 32. They really need Meacham and Eddie Royal to come along. Is this the week they do it? I would say he throws for over 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. I don't know if they win the game, though. But you guys don't care about that.
No, wins don't matter in most fantasy leagues. That's exactly right. Let's move on to this Buffalo Patriots game. I'm excited about this one. And C.J. Spiller looks like he might be coming back from this one. Fred Jackson, he's been out of action for a couple of games. How might the Bills use their running backs in this game against the Patriots?
Yeah, when I was at camp, they spent a lot of time practicing the pony backfield with both of them in the game. And I asked Ryan Fitzpatrick about it, and he said, look, when we do play them both, we can motion C.J. out of the backfield, and we like him as a receiver. When you look at their receiver group, I could see the value of that. So expect some two-in-the-backfield situations for them. The number one thing that, and I thought last week someone started to finally pay attention, you forget C.J. Spiller's numbers, look at his numbers in shotgun. And if they're willing to keep putting him in shotgun and run the ball, which they did terrifically, that's where he was at 14 yards a carry. And if they want to use him that way, he's still the biggest weapon they have. Freddie, by the way, he's had decent success against New Orleans. I think he's about 87 yards a game. But I think it's evolving into Spiller's team, and if he's ready to go, he'll get more work than Fred.
Pat, I know you said you were getting addicted to fantasy football, but if you had Chris Johnson on your team, you might want to quit right now. So we want to know, what do you think needs to happen for Chris Johnson to get going and be Chris Johnson again?
Yeah, I think we've laid too many excuses down for him, truthfully, and he'd go to the bench right now. And maybe a little dose of that, and the reality of if you're not going to play well, you have to stand over there. You can't tell me that they can't find a guy that can find 3 yards a carry. You know, their offensive line's pretty darn good down there, and they got an offensive line head coach, so they take a lot of pride in playing with the guys with their hand on the ground. I would be starting to get other people work. And sorry, Chris, when you get your shot, go out and show us you can do it. Otherwise, you're going to see what the Pines feel like.
And finally, I just wanted to follow up on what you said earlier about the Giants' backfield. You think actually Andre Brown could take over the first 2 downs and push Bradshaw to third down?
I think that they don't need. Look, they got a long road here. 13 games to go. Bradshaw is going to be critical for them down the stretch, and as long as Andre Brown is playing with a hot hand, they will use him, and they'll continue to do that. It's like money in the bank for them as they try to stretch this running group out for the season. I do think he'll get 15 carries, and I think the players on the team, especially the linemen I talk to, they like, and it's not about not liking Bradshaw, but it's a lot about, linemen will tell you every time, we know the point of attack, we're blocking it specifically to cross the line at this spot, and Brown's doing it for him. So I'm guarantee the line coach is in telling Coughlin, keep throwing that kid on the field.
Yeah, all right, good point. Thank you very much, Pat. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Pat.
My pleasure, fellas. Have a great day.
It's our CBSSports.com NFL insider, Pat Kerr. When we come back, we'll break down our rankings, talk quarterbacks here on Fantasy Football Today.